Hi there, my name is Steve Knutson. I'm a Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services, and today I'm going to run through a presentation I've recently delivered on building better digital workplaces. If you want to get in touch with me, my Twitter handle is nztechtweet and my email address is steve@stp.co.nz. Just a wee bit of background. 11 years ago in 2011, I co-founded a company called Stratus Technology Partners. We're Microsoft 365 and digital workplace consultants. We also have a development team, and we work with clients across New Zealand and Australia mostly, and a few further afield, but a lot of our work is based around SharePoint, Teams, business process digitization with Power Platform, information management solutions, modern intranets, sort of all that kind of digital workplace tools or the building blocks. I was asked recently, what does the future look like? And if you want to understand the future, a really great place to start is look at how 10-year-olds are working today. Because in about 10 years' time, those 10-year-olds from today will be in our workforce. They collaborate together, they explore and work natively digitally, something that my generation didn't, and possibly yours also. But really the thing that's really key to understand is that they work differently. Generations, as we're bringing in new generations of people, we have different needs and we work in different ways. It's important that our workplace reflects that in order to be able to get the most out of people. So what is a digital workplace? Well, it's a place where we work digitally first. Seems simple, doesn't it, really? It's not about technology, it's also about how we integrate what we do into the digital world. It's about the mindset of the organisation embracing the digital ways of working, and it's about connecting people and empowering them to get things done. And when done well, a digital workplace empowers people, it drives efficiency, and enables new ways of working. Why does this matter? Well, it boils down to how we connect with our work. Are we engaged with our workplace? Are we engaged with our workmates? Are we getting what we need from our job? In the digital world, it's easy to feel disconnected, especially when connection with our employers are weakened, especially when we're we're not working nearby each other. So when we're remote working, for instance, it's quite easy to lose the connection with the wider workplace and just feel that you're there just to do a task and not all of the other social benefits of the environment. For employers, it means keeping employees engaged is critical for the retention and performance of their business. And I'll talk about a few things as to some stats on that shortly. In a recent survey done by Citrix, they looked at how do people see their digital workplace, and 55% of people felt that the IT environment was significantly more complex than it was 2 years ago. So this was a survey that was done in 2022, and looking back at the last 2 years of the pandemic. 83% of people said that applications not approved by IT were being used to get work done. So shadow IT was widespread. Just think of the rise of the digital whiteboard as an example. 96% of organisations had started digital transformation. That's fantastic. But only 21% think that they've actually reached a stage of maturity, which means there's a lot of work to be done. And 83% of organisations have poor analytics on the usage of technology in their work environment. Poor employee engagement is very costly to business. Disengaged employees are less productive. They're more likely to leave. They take up management time. They can have ripple effects that stretch across the organisation, affecting others around them. And they can have a negative impact on your customers. All of these things actually cost the business, and they take away from productive time. So it's a few kind of stats that came up here. Employee Hero reported in 2021 that 41% less absenteeism occurred when the employee was engaged. So more engaged employees are less likely to take leave. Not that taking leave is a bad thing, but less likely to take unplanned leave. In 2020, Gallup reported that 85% of employees said that they were disengaged. So this was the start of the pandemic, and people were moving rapidly to working from home, being disconnected from their workmates without any planning and change management time around that. So the result of that, disengaged employees. And more recently, we've seen this turn into the Great Resignation, and we all know about that. Here's a fun fact: if you're on the employer's end of this equation, this can lead to huge recruitment costs. Not only the upfront costs that you'll see around the cost of advertising and recruiting people, but also the onboarding time as you get people up to speed, quality, and other factors which come in as your long-serving employees leave and are replaced by new people. Employee Hero also reported that engaged businesses generate 21% more profit than poorly engaged businesses. So when their staff engagement is high, more profit. So this is why digital workplaces matter to business. Well, so what do people need? Well, that's a great question, Steve. Let me talk about this one a wee bit. So digital workplaces matter because the people in the workplaces matter. On this diagram here, I've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs on the right-hand side. And you'll see in the hierarchy of needs that we have the physiological needs of a person, safety needs, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. And you'll see as you move up the pyramid that these things become more. So you can't sort of move up from the bottom levels to the top levels until you sort out the foundations. This is a bottom-up approach to meeting the needs of individuals. And the higher up here you are, the more likely people are to be engaged in their work, and the better your organisation will ultimately perform. On the left-hand side, I've got some examples of the sorts of things that you might do in a digital workplace. So physiological needs, for example, we're starting with just basic access to information. It's surprising even today that many organisations simply don't provide good open access to information, easy access to policies and processes, so people don't know how to get things done. But this gets, as we go up the tree, you'll see there's more things that you can do. Things like giving praise to your employees and awards and nominations, so more leadership type things, providing career pathways, self-assessment learning, all sorts of things that you can do to basically improve the engagement of the employees in the organisation and help to meet their human needs. So where do we start? Well, we start by removing the word digital from the workplace. This is actually a workplace issue. It's not a digital issue. So the first thing that we need to do is recognise the fact that when we're building a great digital workplace, we actually need to build a great workplace. We need to focus on the needs of the employee, not just the jobs they do. So there are other needs that people have, like their social needs, their need for to feel that they're part of something bigger, that to feel like they're making a difference. We need to push information. We need less pushing of information back to people, and we need more two-way interaction. People don't like to have a fire hose of information squirted at them or drip-fed. They'd rather have a two-way interaction. It's a much more modern way of working and creates far greater interaction and engagement. We need to make things easier to do. Remove the friction from the job. Think about working remotely. The things that we used to be able to do in the office, such as getting a signature on a leave request form, now needs to be done digitally. So it can be done and also at any time. So with more flexible working, we need to allow people to do these processes outside of the normal work hours. We need to be able to do it from the times that suit them. We need to be able to pull all of these processes together to make our work environments more flexible. Less flexibility, harder to recruit. We need to create opportunities for connectedness as well. So this is about being purposeful and making opportunities in your workday to allow people to connect with each other. Not just a daily back-to-back stream of meetings, 30-minute meetings with no gaps between them. Give people opportunities to talk, have those moments where they can communicate or connect or participate in organisation initiatives online, digitally. They don't even need to be synchronous or asynchronous. They can be. There's all sorts of ways you can do this, but just create those opportunities and recognise that they're needed. And finally, like I've got this in red here, ask your team, what do they need? They'll tell you what they need if you ask them. The next point I'd like to make is about consistency. So when we're building this modern digital workplace, we need to be really consistent. Consistency helps people with the where and when. So where do I find information? When do I do something? Who can I talk to about something? Well, when will I find things? Being consistent will help drive engagement, but also gives people some sort of understanding of when things will happen. So they're not waiting for the decision to be made today when they know that all of those decisions are made at Monday's team meeting, for example. Also added to this is the who and the why. Make sure that when you're generating content to allow people to self-help, that it answers questions like who and why should you do something. Who do I talk to about this? Why should we do this? Why do we need to do it? These are all very important parts of the sorts of content things you might do in your environment. Tools, tools, tools. So what tools do we use? Well, I've already told you that I'm a Microsoft MVP, and you'd probably be surprised to know that I'm going to say right now that you don't need to use all Microsoft tools for this. But what you do need to do is choose tools that meet some criteria. They need to be available to everyone in your organization. They need to enable collaboration between people. Think about across time zones, across flexible working requirements and so on. They need to allow people to complete tasks in one place. You don't want to have to go to 10 different places to complete a straightforward task. It's inefficient and people will switch off to that very quickly. You should automate process where you can, and everything that you do should be secure. People need to have confidence that what they're doing is being done safely. Things to avoid, multiple tools for the same job. I've been in organizations where they pick a different Kanban product for every project, and then when they get to the end of one, they go, oh, let's choose a different one for another one. Information is locked in there. It's hard to maintain and manage over time. It creates exclusive access to content, which means it's not available to the organization because people haven't got the license or don't know where to look. Also, using tools that lock people out of information is a bad idea. Really, we want to make the organization as open as possible where it makes sense. Of course, you've got to take into consideration privacy and confidentiality that might be a problem in some areas, but actually to allow people to get on with their job and empower them, they need to have access to the information to do it. And then that organization, that information and the tools need to be available. And don't change things often. So even if you pick a tool that's not perfect, it's better than picking a tool and then changing it frequently, because people get they'll just get used to one tool, then they move to the next tool, and all of a sudden their world's turned upside down and they don't quite know where to start. So take these different tools, try them in different areas, but do not change them frequently. Make good decisions and keep a stable environment for people, especially in large organizations. So how do you eat this elephant? Well, the answer is one bite at a time. Sorry for the dad joke. You need to assess your current state. You need to identify what people need and what they need, not what you think they need, but what they think they need. You need to take that and pull that together and agree priorities with the business. You need to pilot test ideas and build minimum viable product solutions to test things out. You need to get feedback and you need to iterate. No one is going to get this right the first time, but the most important thing is to remember that the capabilities of your people, the capabilities of the technology, and the world we work in are all changing continuously. And so making sure that you revisit these things often will help you get ahead. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So the answer to how do you eat an elephant is you do it one bite at a time. So thinking about your own digital workplace, I've got 4 questions for you before I wrap up. The first one is what's missing. So what things do you think your workplace needs digitally that you don't currently have? Is it process? Is it access to information? Is it tools? Can people see everything they need to see? Is there something else? What would you improve? So what are the few things, pick a few things in your organization that you would improve. It might be a process. It might be just tidying up some information. It might be making things more accessible. It might be taking into account that if you've got a process that doesn't work for people when they're away from the office. And what don't you need anymore? Are there things that you could take away, things that you could stop doing? Have a think about that. And can everyone participate? So the last question here is the most important of all. If you're building a digital workplace and your team can't participate in it because they don't have access to it, then what have you created? A silo. You want to avoid that. So these are the sort of 4 questions that I want you to take away and ask yourself and your team about. And I think you'll be surprised that you get some answers back from here. And then the last thing that I really want to ask you to do is to act on those changes. So when people give you feedback, act on them. Don't just stick it away and go, I'll deal with that later. Go, make a plan. Let's deal with this. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. Normally at this point I'd have time for questions. As soon as we're on YouTube here, I will get you to pop your questions into the comments and I'll come back to you with thoughts and answers, or maybe somebody else might as well. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to get subscriptions. It just helps you to understand when I'm doing something new, get announcements. I'm not too spammy, and you'd appreciate the likes, shares, and any comments. Thanks very much.